Okay, everyone, welcome. I am so pleased to have a representative from the New Canadian Centre here in Peterborough join us today for a volunteer fair. My name is Juliana Stonehouse. I'm the Student Experience Coordinator in Careerspace at Trent University. And I am, again, so thrilled that the New Canadian Centre and Sarah specifically has agreed to take part in this session. Just a bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions for Sarah, please feel free to use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. And at the end of the presentation, we'll take those questions. And so Sarah, without further ado, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm really happy that we were able to still do this volunteer fair every year. It's such a nice energy, and I still feel that energy even though we're online. So very cool. Thank you. And thank you for being interested in hearing a little bit more about our organization. So just to get started, I'll give a little bit of a history of who we are in the community, and then I'll talk a little bit about the different volunteer roles that we have. So the really cool thing is that last year we celebrated 40 years of bringing people together. The New Canadian Centre started in 1979 as just a group of really passionate community members that saw the crisis happening in Vietnam and wanted to do something about it. So they started sponsoring refugees and helping them get oriented in the community and helped support them with mostly with language. So after several years of doing this, the group decided to become more than just, an ad hoc group of passionate volunteer community members, and they decided to become a not-for-profit organization. So that's when the New Canadian Centre got its name. And after a few more years, we became eligible for government funding in 1974. Sorry, 1994. So after, all these years, our programming has responded to the needs of our community. So we have offered many programs that have helped with language, education, employment, settlement, and any other needs that have come to light as we go. So in 2004, we decided to also become a more, we wanted to have a bigger community outreach. So we also started Multicultural Canada Day in Peterborough. And this sort of everyone thinks that the city took this on, but this was an endeavor that the New Canadian Centre took on to help promote diversity and inclusion in our community every year. So instead of there just being a Canada Day, that there would be a multicultural celebration every year. And another thing that sprouted after that in 2010 is that we started a new program called Settlement Workers in Schools. So as the years go on, we have sort of slowly taken over the community. Because in 2016, we then started welcoming government-sponsored refugees. So we became a refugee resettlement center 4 years ago and started welcoming many government-sponsored refugees. We've supported over 350 so far in the community. So we have employment programs, we have English conversation groups, youth group, women's group, and other groups. Like we just started an ESL art class for youth, and there's more actually coming as our response to COVID. We are creating more programs. So NCC has grown significantly from 1979, just a group of passionate volunteers that wanted to help, to a a fully funded charitable organization funded by the city, the province, Canada, and hundreds of donors. So we've grown to have a permanent staff of over 25 people. But one of our biggest, one of the things that makes us such a big organization and to have such a big impact on the community is our volunteers. And that has been the strength from the beginning, because that's how it started. We started as a group of volunteers that then, incorporated and established funding, established committees in the community, and has been an advocate for immigration and partnership for over 40 years. So we've actually, one of our biggest contributions are our volunteers. So we have over 450 active volunteers on like any given year. In the last few years, we have 450 active volunteers helping 800 to 1,000 new Canadians a year. So yeah, last year we actually helped 1,100 new Canadians, and there were actually 500 volunteers. So as the years go, we are noticing that our newcomer community is growing, and the people that we are serving, our client base is also growing. So we're seeing this sort of like gradually happen at the same time. And the way that volunteers can get involved, and the way that volunteers have such a big impact on our community and on the services we provide, is because our services can only go so far. You could come see an employment counselor, and then where do you go from there? Who helps you from there? How do those connections go further? And it's our volunteers that do this. It's our volunteers that help us fill in those gaps in our services, but also that take people that extra mile further to really help make connections. And that's what our volunteers are so amazing at, is the connections that they bring. So a few of our volunteer programs are, we have a tutoring program, we have a refugee support team program, and we have a few smaller programs that are group facilitating. So helping with those English groups, our Spanish, our French groups, our women's group. And then we have interpretation. So we have many volunteer interpreters that speak all kinds of languages. And that's the cool thing, is that last year, those 1,100 clients that we served came from 78 different countries who spoke 54 different languages. So although we have many people on staff that can speak different languages, we don't have that many people. So volunteers are really important in helping bridge that gap with interpretation. So we're usually looking for Arabic or some harder to find languages like Somali, Rohingya, Tamil. Those are just a few examples. And then we have sort of odd job opportunities that come up every once in a while. So we had the volunteers that work with our art group help make some cards for the migrant workers during the summer that were coming and working in Canada. We are looking for a couple of volunteers right now to help connect 2 Syrian kids that want to start hockey for the first time ever. Like, they are getting equipment for the first time, they're learning how to skate, and so we need someone to sort of like help be their mentors and get them here and there, and answer their questions, help them tie skates. So we also had like gardening volunteers that were helping our temporary housing keep the outside look nice, and all kinds of like little things like that. But our two main programs are the refugee support team program and the tutoring program. So the refugee support team program is probably our most needed program, like for volunteers. Basically, what it is that when a government-sponsored refugee family gets sent to Peterborough, we create a team of amazing volunteers that come from different backgrounds, that have different knowledge and skills to sort of welcome the family to Peterborough, to help orient them around the city, to answer questions, to do activities with them, and help them adjust to life in Canada, but mostly to create a connection. One thing that I feel the need to mention, because it can sort of go over your head, is my family, when they came as refugees to Canada 30 years ago. 30 years ago, there was no organization like this to help connect them or do anything like this. And it took them several years to learn basic things. And it also, they've never made friends. And I didn't even notice that they never had friends. And I think what contributed to that is that they were never able to make that contact with Canadians. Like whenever they met someone, or if they, got help from someone, it was from someone in their community that they found how somehow, but they never, their adjustment and their idea of Canada and how to make connections and everything was so much harder, and it was so much harder for them to practice English and get in the community. They were always just at home. So one of the biggest things that people can do in the New Canadian Centre is to be a part of a refugee support team, so that you can show someone what a grocery store looks like, or what the library is like, or how our bus system works, or where our trails are that you can walk on or take your bike down. And even biking is a thing. We have volunteers that are helping newcomers get bikes and learn how to ride bikes. And I'm hoping in the spring to have like a biking buddy system set up. So if that's something that interests you, I would sign up to be a volunteer. And it's like all kinds of things. Like one family never saw a dog before, so they one of the support teams came and brought their dog just to meet a dog, and that was their whole activity that afternoon, was to hang out with the dog. So the next thing about tutoring too is sort of the same kind of thing. It's not like tutoring with like a textbook and you're gonna like go through grammar and spelling and this and that. Our tutoring is more like social. It's like conversational, and it's based on what they want to do. And most of the time what people say they want out of a tutor is just how to talk to another Canadian, to talk to another person that's saying, hi, how are you? And they want to get past that. So yeah, that's just a little bit about our volunteer programs in the organization.
Oh, Sarah, what lovely opportunities that you have. So for interested students, what's the next step for them? If they're completely sold on everything that you've said right now, how do they get in touch, or is there an application form, or what's the process for them to put their name in the hat?
Yeah, so we have a volunteer application form online. So that would be the first thing that you should do, is fill out that form. And that form is really important because it tells me what you're interested in. So even if we're not accepting certain types of volunteers, to just say what you're interested in, refugee support or tutoring or groups or interpretation or just other. And then in your, work experience, your interest, definitely put in your interests, because that's what I really go off of is, who are you and how can you best be matched with someone who would love to meet you, So then you would fill out that form. Thank you for sharing that link.
You're
And
welcome.
the process, can seem like a little much. We do have we need 2 references, but that's also a link that you can send online. And then we also have a police check form, because you'll be working with vulnerable populations. And then we have training after that. So I meet with every volunteer that wants to get involved, and we have a Zoom session, because that's the world right now. And we just have like a half an hour conversation about what you're interested in. I tell you if we have any opportunities or what I think, you would be good with, and you kind of tell me, no, I don't like that, or yes, I like that. And then we just kind of go from there, because things come up all the time. So if there's not something at this moment, something can open up next week or like 2 weeks or 1 month. We have so many things on the go. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for that information. And thank you so much for sharing that anecdotal story about your parents just not having any friends. And I think, that's you're right. It's something that would go over everybody's head, when you're coming to a new country. Yeah, you have to get food, shelter and everything, but you need a community. You absolutely need a community. And so the work that you guys are doing at the New Canadian Centre sounds exactly like that. You're just facilitating community for new Canadians, which is such a beautiful thing. So I commend you on all of the work that you're doing, Sarah. Thank you so much for being a part of this. And students and attendees, thank you so much for being a part of this as well. Make sure that you copy down those links that I posted in the chat. So that's how you access what Sarah was talking about, that intake form, if in fact you are interested in volunteer opportunities. And Sarah, if you are comfortable with it, if anybody reaches out to me and wants to get a little bit more information, are they okay to contact you directly?
Yes, of course.
Awesome, great. So with that, I will wrap it up now. Thank you, everybody, for your attendance to this wonderful set. Oh, we have one question just under the wire. If you're an international student, can you volunteer?
Yes,
oh,
of course.
Yes.
International students are my favorite.
Yes, so absolutely. So to that individual who asked that question, just go ahead. Oh, you're very welcome. Just go ahead and follow that link, and then you can do an intake form, and then that will land right with Sarah, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, no problem. Bye. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.